Here's the honest truth most gardening videos never tell you. Not all kitchen scrap fertilizers are created equal, and while some of the most popular advice passed around online quietly does more harm than good. I kept hearing gardeners swear by pasta water, others by rice water, and then there's a third camp that crushes eggshells like they're liquid gold. Instead of just repeating folklore, I decided to actually test all three side by side in a real herb garden using basil, parsley, rosemary and mint, all grown under the same conditions, same soil, same light, same watering schedule, no shortcuts. What I discovered honestly surprised me, and if you care about gentle, sustainable herb gardening that actually works long-term, this will save you months of frustration. If this kind of honest, practical gardening is what you're here for, take a moment now to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future side-by-side tests like this. Now let's get into what really happened and what it means for your garden. Why pasta water sounds powerful but comes with hidden risks. Pasta water gets praised because it contains starches and trace minerals leached from wheat, and on paper that sounds beneficial. In practice, it's far more complicated. When pasta cooks, starch molecules swell and dissolve into the water, creating a carbohydrate-rich solution. Microorganisms in soil love carbohydrates, and in small, controlled amounts, this can stimulate microbial activity. The problem is that herbs are not heavy feeders, and excess starch creates microbial blooms that temporarily tie up nitrogen in the soil. During my test, basil watered with cooled, unsalted pasta water showed rapid initial greening, but within 2 weeks the leaves became softer, thinner, and more prone to yellowing. The soil developed a faint, sour smell, a warning sign of anaerobic activity. Pasta water can also compact soil surfaces when it dries, reducing oxygen exchange. Used sparingly and diluted heavily, it may give a short-lived boost, but as a regular practice, it destabilizes soil biology rather than nourishing it. Why rice water behaves differently, and honestly, surprised me early on. Rice water is chemically and biologically different from pasta water, even though they look similar. When rice is rinsed or cooked, it releases simpler starches, along with small amounts of B vitamins, magnesium, and iron. In my test, I used plain, rinsed rice water, not the thick cooking water, and always applied it diluted. Herbs receiving rice water showed steadier growth rather than a sudden surge. Parsley and mint, in particular, responded with deeper green color and stronger stems without the softness seen with pasta water. The soil stayed loose and neutral smelling, indicating healthier microbial balance. Rice water feeds beneficial bacteria without overwhelming them, which is critical in gentle herb gardening. The key is moderation and freshness. Rice water begins fermenting quickly, and once it smells sour, it should never touch your plants. Fresh, diluted rice water applied no more than once every 2 weeks proved to be a quiet but reliable support rather than a dramatic fertilizer. Why eggshells are misunderstood and honestly often misused in herb gardens. Eggshells are almost pure calcium carbonate, and calcium is essential for strong cell walls and root development. The mistake gardeners make is assuming crushed shells instantly feed plants. Calcium carbonate is slow to break down, especially in neutral or alkaline soils where many herbs already thrive. In my side-by-side test, eggshells produce no visible short-term growth boost at all. However, over time, something interesting happened. Rosemary and basil grown with finely powdered eggshells mixed into the soil showed sturdier stems and less leaf curl during heat stress. Eggshells did not act as fertilizer, but as a long-term soil conditioner. They improved soil structure and provided slow-release calcium that prevented deficiencies rather than stimulating rapid growth. When gardeners expect eggshells to act like liquid feed, they're disappointed, but when used properly, eggshells quietly improve resilience. So, what actually happened when all three were compared under the same conditions? After 8 weeks, honestly, the differences were impossible to ignore. The plants treated with pasta water looked quite lush at first, but then they seemed tired later on, with rather inconsistent growth and, well, a noticeably weaker aroma. Now the rice water plants, on the other hand, grew evenly, kept a strong colour throughout, and produced much better tasting leaves when it was time to harvest. As for the eggshell-treated plants, they didn't shoot up any faster, but they definitely grew stronger, boasting thicker stems and a much better tolerance for irregular watering and heat. The real surprise, though, wasn't that one option completely dominated. Instead, the best results actually came from understanding what each of these does, rather than just treating them as interchangeable free fertilizers. Pasta water behaved a bit like sugar, rice water acted more like a mild probiotic, and eggshells served as a sort of structural supplement. So how should gentle herb gardeners actually use these materials? Well, for those focused on long-term soil health and truly flavor-rich herbs, rice water really does come out as the most consistently useful option, so long as it's used carefully. It helps support microbial life without overwhelming the system, which fits perfectly with the low-input needs of most herbs. Eggshells, honestly, belong in the soil from the very beginning, finely ground and mixed in as a preventive measure, not as a last-minute cure. As for pasta water, despite how popular it is, it should be treated as an occasional experiment at best, and only if it's heavily diluted and never salted. Herbs, after all, evolved to thrive in modest conditions, and if you overstimulate them, you just end up with weak growth and diluted flavor. Now let's talk about why the winner wasn't the one most people expect. The surprising winner here wasn't the most dramatic or the fastest acting option. Rice water actually won, because it respects the natural pace of herb growth and supports soil life. Rather than hijacking it, it doesn't shock the plants into growing or rely solely on slow chemistry. Instead, it works with the system, not against it. That sort of balance is really at the heart of gentle herb gardening, and it's exactly why flashy tips often fail, while these quieter, more thoughtful practices tend to succeed. If you found this side-by-side breakdown helpful, and you'd like more honest gardening tests without all the hype or shortcuts, do make sure you subscribe to the channel and share this guide with a fellow gardener who's maybe a bit tired of all the conflicting advice out there. Gentle, informed choices always beat passing trends, and honestly, your herbs will show you the difference.